welcome to another edition of The Rant, the podcast that allows me to spew what's on my mind and hopefully educate you guys along the way. If nothing else, at least entertain you. And as always, this podcast, as well as others in the Jazzy Groove Rainy Day podcast family, are brought to you by the power of five. If you like what you hear, at the very least, smash the like button. Show your love and support for the channel. And here we go. Today, we're going to talk about something that is thrown around a lot, but I don't think people understand what it means. And that's toxic masculinity. And the question I want to ask today is toxic masculinity a thing? I'm sure you've heard it. You've heard it in everyday vernacular. You've seen it online. You've heard it on other podcasts and things like that. And some of you might even agree with it. Some of you might be like, okay, um, it's a thing, and I think we should be very careful of it. And that's fine. But you got to ask yourself, is it a thing? Is it really, really a thing? Now, the first video we're going to look at is going to be a snippet from the Whatever podcast. Shout out to Brian, Atlas, and the others in the Whatever podcast family. Now, full disclosure, I have issues with them, but I have no issues with their message. And the issues I have with them are more along the lines of the actual podcast themselves, not necessarily the things that they speak of. But let's get over there. Let's give them a listen and let's see what they say.
Cases toxic masculinity, but it's just like as soon as a woman does something
No
that's
such
like
thing.
no such thing as toxic
No
masculinity.
such thing.
There are toxic people, and those toxic people can be masculine or feminine. But when the man pulls you out of your burning building, you don't give a fuck how masculine he is. There's no too masculine then. Masculinity is masculinity. Femininity is femininity.
There is such thing as toxic masculinity.
There is no
though.
the toxic,
Disavow.
So toxic masculinity was a term created in the 1990s when psychologists were trying to study violent offenders in prison. When guys would step on each other's toes and then they would start stabbing each other, it was just a term that was used by those psychiatrists to determine a type of behavior where men would resort to extreme levels of violence for no reason. And then somehow mainstream psychology got a hold of it and became this pop term. There is no such thing as toxic masculinity. There is just masculinity, and then there are some people who are toxic. That has nothing to do with each other. I can show you tons of people who are extremely toxic online, and some of them are masculine and some are feminine, but the two are mutually exclusive. The idea of toxic masculinity is to shame men for doing things that other people don't agree with. There is no such thing as toxic masculinity.
How about that? There is no such thing as toxic masculinity. Now, I'm quite sure that you've heard other people say, yes, there is. But ask yourself a very, very simple and important question. The next time someone tells you about toxic masculinity, ask them, what do you mean? 4 words, 1 question. And that will give you one of 2 responses from the person. They'll either stumble on their words and give you a bunch of word salad, or they'll give you a non-answer. And by non-answer, I mean, it's just a thing that guys do. What guys do it? Am I doing it? I'm a guy. What do you mean? Guys do it. I'm talking to you right now. Am I being toxic? I'm being masculine. I am a guy, therefore I am masculine. Am I talking to you in such a way that would make you feel the need to label me a toxic masculine person? I'd say no. And another reason why a lot of people feel about feel about toxic masculinity is the fact of the way guys are. As I've stated in many, many different podcasts, men talk a certain way. Men are direct. If you want to know the truth, ask a guy. If you want to be placated, ask a girl. A guy's going to give you the truth unless he's trying to sleep with you. Then he'll lie. But the men in your life that have no vested interest in you sexually, your father, your brother, your male cousin, guys that have no skin in the game whatsoever, they'll tell you the truth. It's up to you to believe it or not, but they'll tell you the truth. I think you're getting kind of big there. You might want to slow down on the soda. I think you're reaching a bit with that argument. You might want to look into it a bit more. Myron Gaines, shout out to Myron from Fresh and Fit and the whole crew over there, has a very, very interesting take on that whole male dynamic thing. And more importantly, and more to the point, tone. Because toxic masculinity is often referred to when girls don't like a guy's tone. And Myron says simply this: if I tell you that 1 + 1 is 2, and then I tell you 1 + 1 is flipping 2, does that take away from the fact that the answer is actually 2? No. I'll answer for you. No, it doesn't. But you discount and disqualify the response because you didn't like the way it was delivered. Here's news for you. That's how we talk. I make no excuses or apologies for it. That's how we talk. And the more secure a man is in his masculinity, the more honest he's going to be with you. And I'm gonna break it down. I'll let you have it, both barrels, if you want, if you really piss me off. Because for too long, in their never-ending quest to have sex, guys have told girls what they've wanted to hear. So in a lot of ways, we are the victims of our own success. Because yeah, we're having sex, but it's not everybody. And the burden for performance and the barrier for access keeps getting higher. You priced yourself out of the market. And remember, most women feel most guys, i.e., 80% of guys, to be ugly. Why? word salad. You get a million reasons, and none of them quite make sense. Because each one that you give them can be refuted in a matter of sentences. I thought he was ugly because I didn't like the way he was dressed. He could change his clothes. I think he was ugly because I didn't like the way he looked. Well, that one's a little bit harder, but a guy can change his looks, or he can elevate his game in other ways to offset how he looks. He can make more money. He can be more compassionate. He can be more not compassionate. He can be more charismatic. He can be funnier. I don't like him because he's too short. Get lifts. And a lot of times, as far as that is concerned with height, you're tripping and you're capping because I don't care. You you can be 5'4". A 5'7" guy is more than enough for you. Why the hell do you need 6 feet? I'll say that again for you in the back who didn't quite hear me. You could be 5'4", and 5'7" will be more than enough for you. Why the hell do you need 6 feet? I'll wait. Don't have an answer for it, do you? And if you do, you're lying. Because let's face it, there are not many 6-foot males on the planet. And I am 6 feet. I made it just by the skin of my teeth, but I am. My wife is 5'9". She could go for 5'11", 6 foot. Okay. 5'10", definitely. If a woman is 6 foot, she's a tall drink of water, and yes, she should be more comfortable with someone 6'3", 6'4". But not you 5 foot nothings. Not you 4 foot dwarfs. That's being greedy. And that's also unattainable for you. Because I'm going to be brutally honest with you now. A 6 foot tall guy, if he was to impregnate a 5'4" girl, the baby would fill the sack and be a rather uncomfortable thing to look at. And I tell you this from experience because, as I said, my wife's about 5'9", 5'10", give or take. Our firstborn child was 24 inches long at birth. Translation, our baby was 2 feet long at birth. He's slated to be 6'7" by the time he's finished growing. And he's 6 foot now and he's 16 years old. So it wouldn't be right biologically from the child, because you be just the child would be practically crushing itself. Make it make sense. Do you want a guy who's a bit taller than you, or a guy who can carry you around like a football? Because that's a 6 foot person against a 5'4". That's like, ah! And I don't care. There is truth to the saying they're all the same lying down. There's truth in that. But once you're finished, reality tends to get up and smack you in the face once again. That's it. That's it for you. What the? Toxic masculinity is not a thing. It's just not. As the previous brought out, and I think his name is oh, something Sartain, I forget his name. But as this previous speaker was talking about, toxic masculinity in a nutshell is attributes assigned to men that women don't like. That's toxic masculinity. There's no such term for it. You can't look it up in a dictionary. It doesn't exist. At all. It just doesn't exist. And for those who think that it does exist, to borrow a phrase from another podcast of mine, prove me wrong. In the comments below this one, prove me wrong. Outline your reasons for thinking that is right. And before you do that, know this. Those people who cite reasons without facts, statistics, and or data to back them up will be summarily ignored. That's the guidelines. That's the rules for this debate. If you're going to come at me, by all means, don't sing it, bring it. However, make sure you can back it up. And when I say back it up, give me statistics, give me data, give me actual evidence to support your train of thought. Don't just be because why? I feel like there's your first mistake. Because when people say I feel like, you're coming from a place of emotion. You're not coming from a place of logic. And I am all about logic. When I put my debate cap on and I fire up my screens and I come to you and talk about things, it comes from a place of logic. When pressed, I can provide stats and stuff like that. Statistics, facts, and data. I can provide that when pushed. Off rip, I can reference the stuff. But for the most part, it is what it is. If you have an argument, by all means, let's talk about it. This is an open invitation going out right now to anybody who feels the need to either refute something I've said or just talk about things. This is an open invitation. contact us at the show. Either go in the comments below and type it out, or go to podcast@groovetunes.com. That's podcast at groovetunez.com. And let me know. We'll talk about it. But when you do that, once you make that decision, I'm gonna bring the heat. And I'm gonna tell you what it is. And I need you to not get offended by it. Because I'm going to talk in generalities because as stated by many a podcaster, the world tends to operate on generalities. And the exception does not make the rule. So I don't want to hear my friends, I feel, I know of. I don't care. Because that is a specialized, specific opinion and anecdotal evidence on something that I'm talking about in a generality. A broken clock is right twice a day. That's a fact. But the other times of the day, it's dead wrong. And has no statistical value to what we're talking about. And we'll have the conversation either here or Change My Mind. I'm probably going to have it on Change My Mind. But if you have something here that I've said today that you want to discuss, drop a line. Write a comment. And that goes for anything, because as I've said many times before, we can't grow if we don't know. So if things go the way they're going and you're getting a certain feeling and feeling a certain way about it, it's your fault. Because you're not telling me what you like and what you feel, what your concerns are. So I'm just going on what I feel. I'm going in the path that I feel I should go on, right, because that is the logical progression of my train of thought. Period. Period. If you don't tell me that you disagree with something, I'm going to continue saying it. If you can't tell me that, let's say, you have a different viewpoint because, and you have these actual data points to back up your argument, I don't know. So I'm going to continue saying what I say. I can be wrong. I'll be the first one to put my hands up. When I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I'll let you know. I have no problem with that. Ain't no shame in it. I've heard people say, never admit that you're wrong. Bullshit. Admit that you're wrong, because once you've done that, then there's room to grow. And everybody has room to grow. One of my favorite sayings is, the day I stop learning is the day I stop breathing. There's always something new to learn if you're willing to learn it. But back to the topic at hand, toxic masculinity. It doesn't exist. It's not a thing. It's never been a thing. It never will be a thing. Not in any way that really matters. There, I've said it. Point blank, period. And to those who think, again, those who think that it does exist, prove it. which one of my talking points previously that stated and made the case that it doesn't exist is wrong. Spoiler alert, you won't find any. Nevertheless, you're welcome to try. Don't sing it, bring it. Bring the noise to Shout PE. Shout out to my boys on the island of the Strong Island, and Public Enemy. Don't bring the noise. I bet you I can be louder. I can be noisier. I can be more boisterous. But as I do that, just know that A, it actually is coming from a place of love. Because you need to know what I'm trying to teach you. Hopefully, I'm entertaining you as I do it, but I do want to teach you things because if you can take away what I'm trying to teach you and apply it to your life and make your life better, then it's worth it. My job here is done. And there are many people in this space, and we won't even call it red pill, we'll call it the dating/relationship space. Because the dating/relationship market encompasses red pill, blue pill, black pill, purple pill, all of them. And those who are smart about it won't subscribe to just one camp. Can you? Yep. And to those that do, more power to you. Get your message out there. Doesn't matter how it gets there, just get it there. And as I've stated before, you really want to get ahead of everybody? Leave them alone. Just leave them alone. And with that, we come to the end of another one. Thank you one and all for allowing me to spew my perceptions, my thought processes, my knowledge to you one and all. Don't forget we operate here on the power of 5. Like, comment, subscribe, notify, share. They push the YouTube algorithm. I can't even talk. They push the YouTube algorithm up so we can engage more people. And hopefully, we'll entertain you, we'll inform you, and we'll educate you. And you'll tell your friends, and they'll tell their friends, and we just grow and grow and grow. And as we grow, we'll introduce new things. There are plenty of things in the pipeline I've got cooked up. But I want to see if it's worth it. You want to see what I'm talking about? Like the damn video. And until the next. Peace, y'all.
Alrighty.
Word.
So
Hold on,
that's
okay.
that's fine.
Let
Maybe
me-
the word might not be using the the right word, but it doesn't matter. Like, it's a man's world at the end of the day. It really is. And men are socially acceptable. It's acceptable for a man to like have sex with so many women, but as soon as it's a woman doing that, it's like crazy.
Well, it does go back to biology.
Yeah. Well, because
Like,
the
really
reason
does.
why that it's socially acceptable and men get so much praise for it is because it's a lot harder for a man to get laid than a woman. So when a woman can 10 out of 10, most of the time, a woman will get laid 10 out of 10. A man is not going to be 10 out of 10. So a man has to work a lot harder to have sex.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, they
It's
say-
like,
they
they have to work a
say
lot harder. It is what it is. Like, it is what
Yeah,
it is. It's okay for a man to have sex with whoever, have one night stands, do whatever,
I mean,
have
it's
many
not
times
okay.
they
I mean,
want.
the Catholic Church would say that it's not
Yeah,
okay.
right.
There's a
Okay,
lot
but the
of
Catholic
people
Church
who
also
say
raped kids, so what are we talking about here? Like, you know what I mean?
Okay, I don't know that actually.
Oh,
the Catholic
that was
Church
one
does
of
it,
not the words.
but-
We're gonna delete
but
that. And
I
delete
don't.
that.
The Protestant Church would have a problem with it. Okay, there's a bunch of places that would have a problem with it.
I was
You're
just
right,
bringing
I'm
up
not saying
one
it's a double
point. It
standard.
wasn't like to be like, you know, like
Here, let's
say something.
stay focused. We were talking about like the girl who slept with 30 dudes first date, then you as the relationship guy come along, and then she wants to make you wait 3 months. Kind of ridiculous. I know. I remember, and I think this must have been 6 months ago. I was on a date with a girl. She was in her 30s. You know, she's probably. I didn't ask her body count, but let's probably 10, 20, 30 plus, whatever. She had told me, we were talking about past relationships. She said that the last guy she dated, she'd been dating him for 1 or 2 years. She was like, oh yeah, actually the way we met is I was staying at his Airbnb, and then like I check in, and then like literally the night I move in, like we fucked. I'm like, okay, cool. And then like, I was, whatever. We were on a date, and she was into me. We're hanging out, but she was like, oh no, I think I kind of want to like wait.
I think
I
a
don't-
lot of women.
And like, bro, it's like, look, that's your call, but like, this your last fucking relationship that was a long-term relationship, so it wasn't evidence of like, oh, it's just a one-night stand. And it's like, I'm gonna look at that, I'm gonna be like, I actually no longer want a relationship with a girl. Like, I not because you're
almost
playing a
deceiving.
game, because it's not your
Deceiving.
genuine standard. It's just like I either think one of two things. I think like you're playing a game with me. You're using sex as leverage to secure.
a relationship.
No, resources. Not even a relationship.
Well,
just
what
attention and
relationship?
resources.
How much
Relationship
the man
and
is
You're using
willing
it
to
as
work.
leverage, or I honestly, the thing that strikes me is you're just not that fucking into me, because like I want that, this is Rolo's thing, genuine burning desire. Shout out Rolo Tomasi by the Rational Male. Like, if all your previous relationships, like you had this one standard, if all your previous relationships, your standard was, okay, I'm gonna wait 4 dates. That's fair. I get that. But you just fucked a guy 2 weeks ago, and now you want me to wait 2 months? Like, get the fuck like, again, it's your call, but I'm like, okay, she's either not into me, or she's like basically playing a game. So then at that point, I've just lost interest.
What game do you think she's playing? Just
She's using sex as leverage.
A lot of
And like, I don't, because it's not a genuine standard of hers, because if 2 months ago you fucked a guy immediately, then it's not a genuine standard you have when it comes to your
It's just for
sexuality.
you.
Would you think differently if like she had like lived one way in her past, but like had created a new standard for herself, like going forward?
That's
If-
not what's going on in the situation, though.
But
'cause
that's
you talked about
that's
that
not
2
what's
weeks
going
ago.
on.
Radical
Like
question.
if like for the past 5 years, like that's been her new standard. She had some fucking wild times in college. Even then, that's not ideal. Because as me and Mike were saying, and a couple other people were saying, like obviously body count matters, but strictly from a behavioral sense, not great. But it's more understandable if like she's changed. But
Right.
Hey guys, by the way, everything we're saying, it comes down to, do you find someone who accepts those things? You're right. If you say, hey, the guy doesn't care that I had multiple bodies, that's fine. I'm just telling you, most high status men are not going to behave that way.
I
They're
know
not.
that for a
It's just
fact.
it's just a function of statistics. That's it. You were saying something?
Oh, I think if I'm understanding correctly, it's less that you're saying that it's, you're not judging somebody for, sleeping with someone like on the first date or fourth date or whatever. It's just like, from man's standpoint, does it make sense?
Well, it's the fact that you're holding the standard to to just him and not everybody
Yes.
else that you've
Right.
had these.
Yeah,
like,
you had an
right,
epiphany, and
like,
now
these
you've gotten right
relationships
with God, and now you go to your
Right.
yoga class, and your third chakra is open, and now
Yeah.
you've decided you make men wait when all the other men didn't. That's fine if you believe that. I'm just not going to sit around and wait for that. That sounds
Right.
ridiculous.
It kind
Right?
of. Oh, sorry, didn't mean
Go
to.
ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes the guy who you're making wait feel a little scammed. Like
Right.
it's not like a genuine thing that, like a genuine standard that you actually have. I don't know. It's like you read some bullshit in the magazine. Oh, you should make guys wait. Oh, let me try it. And then like, I don't know. It's just kind of.
There's a lot of stuff out there that's saying you should make guys wait. Yeah, that's
It's
true.
easy for women to be messing around with non-quality guys for so long that when they do get a quality
Yeah.
guys, like you say, they try to find any which way to hold on, and they don't actually have rational or real reasons, real ways to actually do that. They just make up ways in their head.
I slept with
Yeah.
my boyfriend the first night, and he's a quality man. So
Same.
Type.
Yeah. Well, would you
Yeah.
believe? Would you believe that girl that like, that you were just mentioning? If she said that like she screwed that guy, but like she wanted you to wait because like she didn't want you to think like lesser of her. Like she really like wanted to take it slow with
We
you.
should have that conversation. I can explain to her that's nonsense. Like, let's get that.
I'm
out of the
curious.
way.
I'm actually curious.
Well, my personal view is, and
Uh-huh.
look, there are certainly men out there who, if they will judge a woman if that woman sleeps with them too quickly. My personal view is, while that could potentially be an indicator of, for example, promiscuity, I don't think it's necessarily, like if a woman sleeps with you quickly, it doesn't necessarily mean that she's slept with a bunch of men or she's promiscuous. So
I have a question
me
for
personally,
you guys then.
me personally, all of my long-term relationships, that many of them have been really wonderful relationships with great girls,
The chemistry
almost all
is
of them within the first 3 dates.
Okay. Yeah, I was
one
gonna
girl
ask
on the
that.
second date, one girl on the first date. Some guys are like, okay, if she gives it up too quick, then she's for the streets. That's not my. That's
see,
not
I
my
guess I
view.
just- I
That's
guess I
not my
just
view.
get
But some guys do have that view.
I get confused as a woman sometimes, like really like grappling with this, because it's like you don't want to give it up too quickly because you don't want the guy to think that you're a hoe. But then if you really like the guy, like it's kind of like a what do I do? Like how is he gonna view me sort of thing?
Yeah, well,
which is what you were saying is like you're not being genuine to your standard.
Sure.
Like you're kind of like fixing
Yeah.
it based off of like the dude.
And at least for me personally, like if I sleep with a girl, I have, and maybe I'm an outlier in this, I have no interest in sleeping with a girl once. To me, it's just a waste of time. Like if I sleep with a girl, I want there to be a continuity. Maybe we only hang out 3 or 4 times, but like I do genuinely want to at least try to pursue something. I'm not interested in one night stand. It's not worth my time. I view it as a waste of time. And also just, even if your motivation was purely sexual, or excuse me, even if your motivation was purely just to get sex, I actually think that first off, having the first time you have sex with someone, really, I personally don't think it's going to be the best.
Yeah.
I think sex is
Right.
better at like the more you've,
The more
Yes.
you
the
do
more
it,
times
yeah.
you've had sex with them. So one, just on a purely physical level, you know what they like, they know what you like. You build a comfort. So I think that makes the sex better. But me personally, yeah, I'm not interested in one night stands. I do